This pay-per-view was up against Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the Hawks and the Sixers. I don't know how the game went, so no spoilers here. It also lost its biggest attraction when just days before the pay-per-view, they took Roman Reigns off the show. Their top draw, their Universal Champion. They put the match on free television instead. So this show didn't have a whole lot going for it coming in, coupled with the fact it was the last Thunderdome show, so still no fans. Thankfully, this is the last of those. So the level of interest coming into this pay-per-view was almost non-existent. And now that I sit here with you, the event is in the books. And as is the case with a lot of these WWE pay-per-views, we had some good wrestling, coupled with some baffling finishes and booking, including the way they went off the air, with a finish where I approve of the outcome. But as far as giving people a distraction roll-up finish in a Hell in a Cell main event on pay-per-view, you know, I have to say we've gotten some pretty shitty Hell in a Cell finishes over the years. Last year, if I remember, wasn't actually a bad one. But you go back to 2019, I don't think you guys want me to relive that whole experience again with Seth Rollins and The Fiend. And then the year before that, we had, I believe, back-to-back years of no contests. I think that was the one with Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, if I'm remembering correctly. So we have had some real whoppers of Hell in a Cell finishes in the past. This was not the worst, but this was also not in the category of the best when I think of how you end a Hell in a Cell match. Just baffling that they thought, you know, when you look up and down the card, what happened in the Raw Women's title match, and then you see how the main event ended, I think it just leaves you very uninspired. So where do you find your excitement from? Because there was nothing exciting about any of the key matches anyway on this show. So where do you look to for your excitement? And we now find ourselves in a situation where people, I think, are really looking at the old faces to come back now as we head into SummerSlam season. People are waiting for John Cena. They're waiting for Brock Lesnar. They're waiting for Becky Lynch. They're waiting for Edge. Well, maybe they are. Is anybody really sitting around waiting for Edge? I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. But this is kind of where we are at this point. Where else are you supposed to draw your excitement from? The one person, the one must-see attraction in this company, and they took him off the fucking pay-per-view. And I started to think, you know, maybe there was a reason for it. Maybe there was a method to the madness. Maybe they took Roman off the show because they wanted to end with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre because we were going to see Brock Lesnar or someone make some kind of appearance here at the end of the show. They had some big angle planned. Or maybe they were just going to take the title and put it back on McIntyre and give him the big pyro celebration. We didn't get any of that. Which makes it all the more baffling why they would decide at the last minute to take Roman Reigns off the show. Trying to figure out what goes through their minds, though, we could be here for a while. I won't waste your time with that. This is your WWE Hell in a Cell 2021 review here for Father's Day. So I hope all the dads out there had a good day. And maybe if you were actually making better use of your time, you weren't actually watching this pay-per-view, but you are tuned into the stream find out exactly what happened and what matches I would recommend you go back and watch. There were some good matches on this show. Let's try to get to 500 likes, maybe, if we can on this video here during the live portion of the review. That would be great. Super chats are open. You will see them popping up on your screen as we go along. I do read each and every message that you guys send me, and I want to hear your thoughts. I want to know what you thought of this pay-per-view tonight. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What did you like? What did you hate? Did you like anything on this show? Chime in with your feedback and let me know. And then a little bit later on in the stream, I'm going to have a special announcement about a partnership with WrestleRumble.com that you are not going to want to miss. I'm very excited to share this with you, and I will do so. I will contain my excitement, and I will save that for later in the stream. So they added a kickoff match between Natalya and Mandy Rose. I know many of you are very excited to hear that. You might even be very upset that you missed the match. I mean, the epic battle of Natalya and Mandy Rose, so epic that it was added about an hour before the show. Of course, they've been building in the last few weeks to a potential tag team title match with Mandy and Dana challenging Natty and Tamina. They had a little brouhaha on Raw last Monday night. So we got a singles match here on this show, on the kickoff. And this was very, again, this goes to what I was saying at the beginning of the stream when I talked about this just bizarre booking on this pay-per-view. It extended even to the kickoff show, because here you have Mandy Rose, right? One half of the would-be tag team title challengers, going one-on-one with one half of the reigning women's tag team champions. You would think that in order to build up Mandy and Dana as number one contenders for these titles and kind of heat them up a little bit, even if they end up not winning the belts, Mandy would at least pick up a win, right, against one half of the tag champs and say, hey, look, I got a win over Natty. Maybe you do the same with Dana and Tamina. Well, they had a match on this show, and Natty won with the sharpshooter. She got Mandy Rose to tap out in the middle of the ring after a very paint-by-numbers match on the kickoff. So that's a very interesting way. That's certainly a different way, different approach to heating up your challengers going into a potential tag team championship match. So maybe we will end up getting Dana beating Tamina on Raw tomorrow night. I can't wait to find out. I am waiting with bated breath. All the breath that Kevin Owens didn't have in his lungs tonight. Bro, I have it in mine. I'm waiting. I have his breath, and I am waiting with breath to find out if we're going to get the epic battle of Tamina and Dana Brooke on Raw tomorrow night. Tune in for 3 hours of Monday Night Raw on the USA Network in the award-winning WWE Thunderdome to find out if we are in fact going to get Tamina Snuka one-on-one against Dana Brooke. I'll put a little countdown clock on the screen. We could all count down the hours until we find out. Pay-per-view opened. God, I haven't even started the actual pay-per-view portion of this yet, and I'm already all amped up. The pay-per-view opened with the first of two Hell in a Cell matches on this show. This one for the Smackdown Women's Championship, with Bianca Belair defending against Bayley. I should mention before I even get into the match that the pay-per-view actually opened with a big pyro display right above the ring. They set off all these fireworks, and Michael Cole, clearly really feeling the excitement of tonight's show, right? This big Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and Michael Cole welcomes us. The opening line of the show, well, here we go, I guess. I guess so. Bianca and Bayley. Bayley grabs some kendo sticks. So we had plenty of kendos, plenty of those on this show. You know, I wonder if, when all these people, when they go out, they go to the Chinese restaurant. I was just at the Chinese restaurant, the other day to actually pick up something, not eat there. But I wonder if, instead of using chopsticks when they eat, if they insist on having kendo sticks because they just can't help themselves. I mean, clearly they have an addiction in this company. Everybody has to use them. So you may as well just use them in everyday life. We have plenty of kendo sticks. If you're a kendo stick fan, you're in luck. This was your pay-per-view. In fact, I don't know, for all the themed and gimmick shows this company has, Hell in a Cell, Money in the Bank, TLC, Elimination Chamber. Now there's talk about USA Network and NBC Universal and Fox wanting themed shows for NFL-themed wrestling episode and a NASCAR-themed episode. I'm surprised WWE hasn't given us kendo stick pay-per-view. All kendo sticks. Poles in the corner, kendo stick on a pole, right? In other matches, you can hang the kendo sticks from the ceiling in a ladder match. You could put the kendo sticks at the end of the aisleway but it's like a special kendo stick. So you have to run down the aisleway and retrieve it. It's the only one that you can use and then bring it back to the ring. You can do like, you can hide them like Easter eggs, right? You hide the Easter eggs. You hide the kendo sticks. You can do that in the Thunderdome because there's no fucking people there. So you can hide them strategically in different parts of the building. Oh, they can have a lot of fun with this. I just came up with that off the top of my head. It's theirs. I gift it to them. It's their idea to use. WWE Kendo Stick. So Bayley grabbed some kendo sticks from under the ring and placed them in between the holes of the cell. And Michael Cole reminded us of Bayley's use of the kendo sticks in her cell match with Sasha Banks last year, which was an excellent match, despite the kendo sticks. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what... I thought back to that match, and I'm still trying to remember exactly what Bayley was trying to do last year with those kendo sticks. She had put them in some weird configuration, and it never really amounted to much, and I still, a year later almost, don't quite know what she was trying to do, but in any event, as Cole is mentioning this, Bayley could hear him on commentary. This is one of the things I actually will miss about these pandemic shows, because Bayley was the MVP, at least for the women. I think Bayley was the MVP of the pandemic era, and her harassing Michael Cole and yelling at Michael Cole in the middle of her matches, I think has been, it's been a welcome addition to the television shows. So she heard Cole talking about this, and she just goes, "Shut up, Michael. They know. They watch me." But it backfired on her, and Bianca gave her a spine buster through the kendo sticks that Bayley had wedged into the holes of the cell. Bayley tied Bianca's braid to a steel chair at one point, but Bianca came back and tied herself by the hair to Bayley's wrist. So for about 30 seconds, this turned into a strap match. It looked like they were connected by a strap, only instead of a leather strap, it was Bianca's braid. Belair took Bayley to ringside, worked her over with the kendo stick, and Bianca ran Bayley into the cage and was delivering shoulders to the abdomen before finally untying her hair from Bayley's wrist. Bayley now is crawling over to the door. She is pleading and begging the referee outside, I'm done. Let me out of here. And the referee says, I can't do that. I can't unlock this door. I can't let you out of here. And from behind, Bianca kicks Bayley face first into the side of the cage. Bayley pulled out a ladder from underneath the ring. And she opened the ladder flat on the mat. She placed Bianca inside the ladder. And she slammed the ladder down on her a few times. Bianca made a comeback, picked up Bayley for a glam slam, drove her face first into the top turnbuckle. And Bianca placed the ladder on top of Bayley. So she goes up to the top, and I'm thinking she's not going to hit a 450 because that would be fucking stupid. You're going to do a 450 onto a ladder, you get what you deserve. She might have been going for a double stomp. I hope that's what, in storyline, I certainly hope that's what she was going for. But Bayley rolled out of the way, and so Bianca lands on her feet, and she rolls through. And Bayley is still on the mat, laying on top of this ladder. Now she's laying on top of the ladder, and Bianca hits a running senton on top of her. And then for the finish, Bianca hits the KOD, the Kiss of Death, on to the ladder, which was actually a fucking awesome finish. It looked great. It looked brutal. Face first, down, planted right on top of the ladder. And Bianca picks up the win and retains her championship. This match did not need the sell. Even though they did the spot where they stuck the kendo sticks in the holes of the cage. This, and I said this going in. I said this when I did my predictions on episode 709 earlier today. This match did not need the sell. What they wanted to do is, for whatever reason, they bumped Roman Reigns off the show, right? Father of the Year. He wanted to make sure he was home for Father's Day. Whatever the excuse was, they took his match off this show. And now they had a void where they needed one more Hell in a Cell match, which I would argue they didn't. But they wanted one more Hell in a Cell match, and so they looked and they said, okay, we'll give one to the women. And that's how we ended up with this match being in the cell. if we're being perfectly honest, the other match on this show that should have been inside the cell, although not the way they booked it, looking at what they did, it was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That is a rivalry that has been going on for so long and has been so personal. Those are the types of matches I look for as far as putting it inside the cell. This match did not need the cell. In spite of that, I thought on its own, it was a good opener. I thought they had a good match. But I thought the finish was fucking great. That KOD on the ladder looked fantastic. Hello to everyone in the chat. I'm going to take a second here to welcome everybody here to the Hell in a Cell 2021 recap if you are just joining. Take a seat, grab a drink. We're going to be here for a little while. In fact, we're about to get into Seth Rollins against Cesaro. And Rollins attacked Cesaro as he made his entrance. Tried to gain the advantage before the bell even rang, but Cesaro fought right back. Late in the match, Cesaro hit a Rainmaker. The only thing that was missing was him doing the extended arms and then that camera zoom back, but I guess AEW has co-opted it now for best friends, so WWE, they have a, they have a multi-million-dollar production operation there, but I don't know. I can't see them doing anything quite that cool. Love the Rainmaker pose. We didn't get the pose, but we got the Rainmaker here for a near fall. He caught Rollins in the big swing, transitioned into the sharpshooter. Rollins almost tapped out. He teased tapping out, but he tried to grab the bottom rope, and Cesaro transitioned from the sharpshooter into the crossface. Rollins, though, rolled him up for a near fall. Cesaro went for the sharpshooter again. Rollins countered with a small package, and this time he got the win. So he almost got the win on the roll-up, but then he ended up getting the small package in the end and picked up the win. The wrestling in between here, and I'm not going to cover all the minutia of it. It was a good wrestling match. The wrestling in this match was very good, but a lame finish that really does not accomplish anything. And, I heard people, I know the commentators may have mentioned this, but I saw people on social media talking about the fact that, now they're even, right? There's got to be another match now because now they're even. What do you mean even? What are you talking about? Cesaro beat him at WrestleMania, and he beat him on television when he earned the right to challenge Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. He came into this match 2-0 over Seth. Seth won. That makes it 2-1. Now, am I missing a match here? Am I forgetting another TV match that these two had? Maybe I am. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I saw people talking about this as if it was 1-1, and now we have to have a rubber match when Cesaro already had 2 wins against this guy. He's still up 2-1 on Seth Rollins. And there may well be another match. I'm not even saying that this is the end of it, but they're not even. Cesaro beat him twice. But this is one win for Rollins, as I said that this exactly went the same way I said that it would. Rollins is due for a win because Rollins is the star that is going to be pushed, and Cesaro, who has had a nice push this year, he's going to settle back into the position on the card that he was in before. If you think that this Cesaro push is going to be sustained, you are going to be disappointed. And I say that as a fan of Cesaro. Once he had the match with Roman Reigns, and I knew he wasn't winning that, I felt satisfied. Because I knew, okay, he got his main event, now he's going to settle right back to where he was before, and this is the beginning of that. Rollins is the star here, not Cesaro. In their eyes, Seth Rollins is the star. And now they have to heat him up because we're heading into SummerSlam, where, my prediction is that we end up getting Rollins and Edge one-on-one, but whoever he faces, he's going to have a pretty prominent match, I would assume, Seth is, on that show. Cesaro probably won't. So Seth has to, in their eyes, he's got to start winning. And this was the first victory in heating him up, heading into SummerSlam. Exactly the way I figured it would go. Not really a big surprise here. But I think that's where, I believe anyway, that is where we are headed for SummerSlam. Because we know Edge is coming back. He's got to be coming back, right? Probably next month at some point. probably is a babyface. Him and Seth is a match we've never seen before. In fact, that could be a pretty good match. I'm not against doing Rollins and Edge at SummerSlam. So I expect that to be the match. And that brings us to Alexa Bliss against Shayna Baszler. The streak of good matches ended at 2 on this show. We've got Nia Jax and Reggie. They came out to the ring with Shayna, and you knew that that was trouble right off the bat for Shayna Baszler. The fact that they were going to be out there in her corner was not going to be good news for, as they called her on WWE.com in the match preview, the Queen of Spaces. I mentioned this on the podcast earlier, like, parking spaces? What? Queen of Spaces. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that means. It's been that way, by the way, all week. I went back to it today to see if they fixed it. They never fixed it. So she is now officially the Queen of Spaces, at least according to WWE.com. Alexa smacked Baszler hard across the face early in the match, and that seemed to wake up Shayna Baszler, who went on the offense, and she made her she punished her. She made her regret her actions there. But every time Shayna would hit an offensive move or she would apply some kind of a hold, Alexa just, she no-sold it. She laughed it off. And even when Shayna stomped on the elbow and the triceps, at first, Alexa was crying, and then she just started laughing some more. Nothing that Shayna did really had much of an effect on Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, it's like she morphed into the Ultimate Warrior. No selling the pedigree at WrestleMania. That's what Alexa Bliss basically turned into here in this match. Shayna was doing some joint manipulation on Alexa when Alexa started yelling at her to look at me, look at me. She wanted her to look her right in the eyes, right? Because she's now hypnotizing people. They're falling under her hypnotic gaze, and she wanted Shayna to stare her down right in the eyes, and Shayna was looking at her, and all of a sudden Shayna starts to act a little strange, and she starts to act a little weird. And the hold that she had applied on Alexa, she lets go of the hold. Alexa's spell has had an effect on the former NXT Women's Champion, who, as I've pointed out before, 416 days as the NXT Women's Champion. And she has fallen under the spell of Alexa Bliss. So she lets go of the hold. Bliss then goes on offense. Alexa then stares over at Nia Jax, who is standing outside the ring. They're having a staring contest. And now Nia falls under the spell of Alexa. She now is being hypnotized by Alexa Bliss. Reggie comes over to Nia. He's trying to get her attention and snap her out of it. He's waving, his hand in front of her face to try to get her attention. And all of a sudden, Jax, I believe Alexa in the ring did the slapping motion, and Nia did the slapping motion at the exact same time, and she slapped Reggie. It's as if Alexa was controlling Nia's body. And then Alexa unleashes this roar at Nia, and Nia does the same thing to Alexa at the same time. They were trying to time it perfectly. So basically what they were doing, this is like the two doinks at WrestleMania 9. This is what we have reverted back to. We have regressed to the two doinks at WrestleMania. Remember, they were trying to, they were doing the pantomiming and everything, the same motion. Ooh, ooh, ooh. This is what we've regressed to. We have regressed to a WrestleMania that a lot of people call the worst WrestleMania of all time. Which it's not, but a lot of people would argue that it is. Alexa hit her DDT. She went up top, hit Twisted Bliss for the win. Who was it? Was it Bliss Fan? I know Bliss Fan is in the chat. I think Bliss Fan may have mentioned that Alexa Bliss, and I'll take his or her word for it, Alexa, I believe, is 6-0. She is undefeated. Now, she hasn't had that many matches this year, but in 2021, she is unbeaten. She's got like a Goldberg streak going this year. And now she can add Shayna Baszler to her list of victims. This was fucking awful, as I expected it to be. I cannot imagine that this is going to get the reaction they expect it to if they give people this shit once they go back out on the road. You know, in a morbid kind of way, I kind of hope that they keep doing this. You know what? I know I'm a glutton for punishment by saying that, but I kind of hope they keep this going through the middle part of July when they get back on the road. I believe the first Monday Night Raw back in front of live fans is on July 19th, right? I think it's the night after Money in the Bank. I really would love to see what the live crowd reaction is to this shit. Just in a morbid kind of way. That's it. I got nothing else to say. Shayna Baszler, I mean, what more can be said? What more can be said? What they've done here is they've basically taken between the voodoo stuff, Reginald, Nia Jax, they've taken all of the elements I absolutely dislike, is being kind, about Monday Night Raw, and they have put it all in one storyline. They have put it all in one segment. So maybe in a way I should be happy they're at least putting it all together and they're not spreading it out over multiple segments with multiple other people. It's awful. It's horrendous television. There is nothing more to be said. And that's not a knock on Alexa Bliss. Personally, I have complimented her performances with this character that she's been portraying, but without the Fiend around, when it's just Alexa every fucking week on the swing and doing magic tricks, it is fucking atrocious. And they should get it out of their system now before July 19th. But I really would love to see them try this in front of live audiences. Maybe it depends on the city that they're in. Hey, go to Chicago. Go to New York. And do this shit. I'd love to see it. Kevin Owens. With Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn. A match truly worthy of the Hell in a Cell treatment for lots of reasons. But alas, it was not meant to be. So we had a straight singles match here between these two. Owens was having breathing problems from the 2 Nigerian nails that Commander Aziz had given him on SmackDown 2 nights ago. The first half of this match was basically Owens just trying to breathe. Trying to catch his breath. And favoring his shoulder with the announcers teasing that the referee might actually have to step in and stop the match. He came up favoring his arm after Sami did a dive, cannonball dive. Or as Excalibur would say, Tope con hero. Is that what it was? I know it wasn't a tope suicida that he loves to talk about every fucking week. This was out over the top rope. And that's when Owens came up favoring his shoulder. And look, it's possible he really got his shoulder dinged and maybe he's really hurt. I didn't, interpret that as a real injury. I just interpreted it as Kevin Owens was doing a really good job of selling, and they were doing this. They were giving him basically 2 injuries as an out between the being unable to breathe and now his arm is hurt. They were giving him an out because he was going to lose. I don't think he was really hurt. Zayn hit Michael Cole's favorite move, the Blue Thunder Bomb. Shockingly, Michael Cole did not refer to anything else on this show as a Blue Thunder Bomb except the Blue Thunder Bomb. So he's improving. He's getting better. He's not calling every other move a Blue Thunder Bomb. I'm impressed. Michael's been putting the work in. He's been staying late. He's been getting there early. Good. I'm happy to see it. Owens hit a stunner on Zayn outside on the floor, and Sami barely, and I mean barely, made it back into the ring in time before the 10 count. Sami's mouth was busted open. I didn't see how it happened. Zayn then connects with a haluva kick, and he picks up the win. Owens could take no more. He's got the throat injury. He's got the arm injury. And on the replay, that haluva kick looked great. Even though you could see him slapping the leg. But the boot connecting in slow-mo with his face right in the jaw, it looked great. So he picks up the win. He avenges his loss at WrestleMania. There was no Logan Paul to fuck things up here for Sami Zayn. This felt like less of a wrestling match and more of a fight. This felt like a battle between these two old rivals. It was a different kind of match than any match I think we've seen them have before in WWE. Nothing flashy here. I enjoyed it. It was not their best match by any means. I'm not saying that at all. Far from it. It was not their best match, but it was a welcome step up from what we saw in the previous segment. Maybe I'm setting the bar so low, given what came before this, but I enjoyed this. And with a Sami win, it looks like this feud, are you ready for it? This feud must, say it with me now. Say it with me now. It starts with a C. Come on. You know where I'm going with this. This feud must continue. It's just going to go on and on and on and on and on and on because it will fight forever. This will never end. At least they have good matches, right? I'd be a lot less tolerable of this if these guys went out there all the time and had shitty matches and they feuded for 10 years. At least these guys are fucking great at what they do, and you know that more often than not when you put them in the ring together, as tiresome as it gets, they're going to deliver. That's why I wanted the Hell in a Cell stipulation. We've never seen them in a cell match before. At least it would have given the match a different dimension than we've seen from the two of them before. Hey, maybe they could do a kendo stick match. There you go. There's that new stipulation I invented. They could do a kendo stick match between these guys at some pay-per-view in the future. Rhea Ripley against Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship. KC, what's going on? I see KC the most, one of our channel members in the chat, and Ken Terminated as well. Good to see some familiar faces. How many people we got right now? Timestamp guy, you got to give me some updates in the chat here. You got 1,300 people. Welcome to all 1,300 and more people coming in. We are now up to the Raw Women's Championship match. Charlotte Flair grabs the Raw Women's title away from the referee before the match begins, and she tosses it to Rhea as a distraction. So, of course, Rhea goes to catch it, and when she does, Charlotte goes on the attack. So that's how this got started. Charlotte then goes to work early on Rhea's left knee, so they did the one bad leg story here in this match. There was a really embarrassing spot. I mean, this would be embarrassing for anybody. But for someone like Charlotte, who is regarded as one of the best in the company, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, I mean, this is what people say. For her to be caught doing this was just really embarrassing. So she's kicking Rhea. Rhea's down on the mat, and she's kicking at Rhea Ripley. And then she starts kicking, and there's two kicks that she delivers, or what she thought she was delivering anyway, to Rhea. Rhea had rolled away. And Charlotte is standing there, kicking the air. I mean, this was worse than the Shane McMahon shadow punches on Randy Orton back in 2009. And that was horrendously bad. This was just embarrassing. I don't know what she was doing. Maybe she was kicking little Jimmy. I don't know. Maybe it was more of that voodoo magic. Maybe Alexa Bliss put a curse on Charlotte and was forcing her to kick. She was kicking the air. So that was, she was whiffing pretty bad on those kicks. Rhea fought back, hit a missile drop kick for a near fall. Rhea applied the prism trap, which is her standing reverse, or whatever she's calling it now. At one point she called it the prism trap, which I always thought was a cool name. That's her standing reverse cloverleaf, but Charlotte countered out of it by sending Rhea's own momentum forward, and she went face first into the turnbuckle. Charlotte followed up with natural selection. Rhea got a shoulder up. Charlotte Flair did her usual over-rotated moonsault, right? Because She's a gymnast. She's got long legs. And every time she does the moonsault, she over-rotates. This time, she put a little bit of a different spin on it. She over-rotated, landed on her feet, and then immediately did a standing moonsault. So she did connect. But she only got a near fall. Rhea, with one bad wheel, hit a superplex for a near fall. Both women now start trading bombs. Ripley manages to hit Riptide, but she hit her finish too close to the ropes. And Charlotte was able to get her feet on the bottom rope, or her foot. Charlotte rolls out to the floor. Ripley goes after her. And they did this horrible spot. So again, this was embarrassing. This was less embarrassing than the mystery kicks that Charlotte was throwing earlier in the match. But they did this horrible looking spot where it was supposed to be Charlotte drop kicking Rhea's injured knee into the ring steps. And Charlotte totally missed. And Rhea sold it anyway. She sold it like death. She's screaming and she's crying in pain, but she totally missed. What are you going to do? They wound up outside on the opposite now side of the ring. So now they're over by the announcers. Okay, when that spot happened, that was by the aisleway. Now they're on the other side. They're by the announce desk. We're heading for the finish. We're heading home in this Raw Women's Championship match. And how does this match conclude? Well, I'll tell you. Rhea grabs the table cover. So these WWE announce desks, they have the cover, right, with the logo on it. And of course, whenever somebody wants to use the table, the first thing they do is they pry the cover off and they throw it aside and they clean off the announce desk. Well, it never got that far because for the finish of this match, Rhea grabbed the table cover and flipped it up into Charlotte's head, and the referee calls for the bell. The referee has disqualified Rhea Ripley for using the table cover as a weapon. That was the finish of this match. She was DQ'd. She was DQ'd for doing something that we have seen people do time and time again. People have used that cover. We've seen them literally pick up that piece of the table and throw it on someone. It's never been a DQ before. But tonight, WWE felt like, you know what? We're in a DQ kind of mood, right? We're in a DQ kind of mood. They had fucking Dairy Queen before the pay-per-view tonight. Everything about they were in a DQ kind of mood. So tonight, it's going to be a disqualification. It's like that one time. I don't remember what pay-per-view it was, but it was some match. It was Alberto Del Dipshit against maybe Dolph Ziggler or somebody. I don't remember. Jack Swagger. It was Swagger, Ziggler, or one of them. And, of course, there's no instant replay rule in WWE, right? We see it all the time. People get fucked in matches, and it's not like you can contest it and the referee is going to say, well, let's go to the videotape. Now I'm dating myself. Let's go to the video. Let's go to the footage. Everything is digital now. I still think of things in terms of tape. I'm an old bastard, but there was that one match on pay-per-view where the referee, it might have been Mike Chioda, goes outside the ring and they request a small monitor so that he can watch the replay of what just happened and he sees that this guy got fucked, and then I think he reversed the decision. And I'm thinking, when have we ever seen this happen before? Maybe this is going to become the norm here in WWE. Nope. We saw it once and we never saw it again. And it's one of those things that just drives me nuts. They just come up, they just pull shit out of their ass whenever they feel like using it, and then we never hear it again. We may never see anyone else disqualified for what Rhea Ripley was disqualified for here on this show. But tonight, she was disqualified. Very lame finish. Although, see, I'm trying to look for the positives here. Even though the finish sucked, Rhea Ripley is still the Raw Women's Champion. I was convinced that they were going to put the title back on Charlotte Flair tonight. And they didn't do that. They kept the title on Rhea. Now, the Rhea didn't come out of this match looking good at all, but at least they did not change the title. That's the good news. Rhea Ripley is still the Raw Women's Champion. Rhea then hits another riptide to Charlotte in the ring, and she goes to collect her title. Charlotte is announced as the winner. Rhea tells Mike Rome to tell him what they want to hear, which is that Rhea Ripley is still the Raw Women's Champion. Look. First of all, when this was over and Rhea went to go leave, they zoomed in on Charlotte, who was leaning up against the rope, looking at Rhea as she was exiting, and she said to her, "You're learning, bitch." And Rhea Ripley looked at her, and the mic picked up on her saying, "I only did what you would do." I think those were her exact words. "I only did what you would have done." So I guess that's the story. Rhea is learning from the Queen. She's picking up on things that Charlotte Flair would do in her own matches and using it against her. Unfortunately for us, we're the victims here because we have to sit through this horrible fucking finish. But my bigger issue with this is they don't know what Rhea Ripley is supposed to be. I couldn't tell you if Rhea Ripley at this very moment is supposed to be a babyface or if she is supposed to be a heel. Is she supposed to be somebody that we get behind and cheer in these matches? Or is she somebody who we are supposed to boo and not like? I couldn't tell you. And you know why? Because WWE doesn't know. Rhea Ripley has been on the main roster now for months. She has been the Raw Women's Champion since WrestleMania. Ever since she was called up to the main roster on day one, she has had an identity problem. They cannot figure out what they want this woman to be. Is she a heel or is she a face? They still, and it was very apparent tonight, have not figured out what this woman is supposed to be and what they want her to be. When this match was over, I said to myself, who's the babyface? Because neither one of these women came away as likable in the least. They were completely unlikable. I didn't want to see either one of them. That's not good. When you have people in the audience, I mean, you have two people they don't like, they're going to sit on their fucking hands. Or they're going to start doing the wave. So they have to do a much better job of figuring out what they want Rhea Ripley to be. I think Rhea Ripley can be a killer heel. But if they want her to be a babyface, then she should act like one. She didn't act like one tonight. She got herself intentionally disqualified and smiled about it and said, "Announce me as the winner," and she walked off. This company doesn't even know what they want her to be. And if they don't know, how are we supposed to know? The wrestling, I thought as a match, the wrestling in this match was actually pretty good. And the match was pretty good up until the lame finish. But they've got to do a better job with Rhea. Rhea Ripley was one of those can't-miss prospects from NXT. And the moment they called her up to Raw, they put the Raw Women's title on her. And she's beaten Asuka a whole bunch of times on TV. She's not buried. She's not, Rhea is in a much better position than a lot of other people have been who have been called up over the years. But even still, they have bungled her in other ways. She is just a can't miss. This should be easy. And they just can't figure out, what do we want her to be? Well, they better figure it out fast. Because she's your fucking champion. You're going into one of your biggest events of the year, and it would be nice to know which side of the track this woman is going to be on. Because tonight did not answer that question. Main event time. Drew McIntyre against Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship inside Hell in a Cell. If McIntyre loses, he cannot challenge for the title again, so long as Lashley is the champion. McIntyre suplexed Lashley into the side of the cell very early in the match, and he came down right on top of his dome, did Lashley. I mean, you could hear the thud as he fell right on top of his head. When he got up, Drew rammed the ring steps into his face, not once but twice, so Drew made it very apparent here early in this match, he's not playing around. He's not playing games. The stakes are high. He was taking this very seriously, as he should, because as per the stipulation, if he didn't win, he wasn't going to be able to wrestle for the title. So right out of the gate, he was taking it to Lashley. Drew grabbed... Let's do let's do a little exercise here, okay? I'm going to put my professor hat on. I'm going to do a little class session, if you'll allow me to. Drew McIntyre grabbed something from outside the ring. Going to do multiple choice. A, B, or C. Let's see if you can get this right. Drew McIntyre grabbed A, a chair, B, a ladder, or C, a kendo stick. I'll take a quick drink here and let you guys in the chat let me know if it was A, B, or C. And then I'll let you know if you were right. Well, I see I have a lot of smart people here in my chat who guessed correctly. Either that or they watched the pay-per-view and they actually remembered what he grabbed. But yes, the majority of you in the chat are in fact correct. The correct answer is C, kendo stick. That is the weapon of choice in this company. He grabbed a kendo stick, he used it on Lashley. Then he grabbed a table, propped it up against the chain link fence. But MVP fed his cane through the cage. Lashley grabbed it, and he jammed it up into McIntyre's throat. And the pendulum then swung in favor of the WWE champion, but not for long. McIntyre came back with an air raid crash onto the flat surface of the ring steps. Back in the ring, McIntyre hit Lashley with a chair right across the back. Headed up to the top rope with the chair. Lashley, though, caught him on the way down and tried to apply the hurt lock. But Drew fought out of it, hit a spine buster, and then a power bomb for a near fall. Lashley made a comeback, grabbed what... What did Bobby Lashley grab? A, MVP's cane. B, a sack with thumbtacks inside, or C, a kendo stick. If you guess C, you are correct. Lashley grabbed a kendo stick, and he then fed the stick to MVP outside the cell. MVP then inserted the kendo stick through the holes of the cell. This was basically what this was. This was reminiscent of the spot they did a few years ago in the Hell in a Cell match with the New Day and the Usos, which is one of the best Hell in a Cell matches I've ever seen, by the way, between those two teams. That was a great fucking match. And at the time, that was a very innovative spot because we had never seen it before. And it's still a pretty cool spot. So now, McIntyre is in the corner, trapped. Like he's in prison. He's trapped by this kendo stick as Lashley begins to fire away and work him over. In the ring, Lashley drove McIntyre face first into a chair. He did that twice. Then he went up. He grabbed the kendo stick. And he started whipping Drew with it. Drew fought back and grabbed a chair, but Lashley thumbed him in the eye and then shoved him into the referee, who got hit because McIntyre had the chair in his hand. And so when he got shoved into the referee collided with the chair. Down goes the ref. McIntyre then ran Lashley into the chair in the corner and hit the Future Shock DDT, but there was no referee. Drew then sets up. He hits the Claymore kick. Referee from the outside of the cell then gets inside, right? Because the other referee is down. We need a ref. So the outside ref comes in to count the fall, but with the door now open, MVP drags the referee out of the ring right before he could count the winning fall for Drew McIntyre. And McIntyre now is staring down MVP. He is burning a hole through this man. And when MVP goes to leave, he realizes, oh shit, I'm locked inside. They locked the door behind him. There's nowhere for him to go. There is no safe haven now for MVP. And Drew McIntyre goes to work on him, gets him in the ring, hits a Claymore kick. That takes out MVP. Lashley sneaks up behind Drew on the floor and applies the hurt lock. McIntyre breaks the hold by falling backwards into a table that had been propped up early in the match against the wall of the cell. So that was a pretty cool way to break that hold. Drew then drags Lashley's lifeless body into the ring, and he grabs the chair. I was shocked. That he grabbed the chair and he didn't grab the kendo stick. That might have been the biggest surprise of this whole fucking pay-per-view. He grabbed the chair, and again he smashes Lashley across the back with it, and again, and again, and a fourth time. So now he's setting up for the Claymore kick. He goes for it. Lashley ducks, and Drew goes flying. He misses the kick. He ends up on the apron, stands back up on his feet. Lashley reaches over, grabs him by the throat, and chokeslams him off the apron down through a table that was set up on the floor. So Drew McIntyre is chokeslammed through the table. Eventually, he climbs very slowly back into the ring, and Lashley is setting up for the spear, but he runs himself into the turnbuckle. I guess with Braun Strowman no longer being employed, there's got to be some other, big muscled up guy in this company who has to run himself into things. Remember that whole phase that Braun Strowman went through a few years ago where he just ran into things? He had the ambulance match with Roman Reigns. He ran. Roman swung the doors open. He ran right into the back of the ambulance. He used to run into the turnbuckle. He used to run into the post. He ran into a door. He ran into a wall. Now he ran to the unemployment line. He was always running somewhere. So he ran himself, did Lashley, into the buckle. McIntyre gets a backslide for a near fall, which was shades of how he beat Randy Orton almost a year ago at SummerSlam. So I actually thought they would end this Hell in a Cell match on a fucking backslide. Thankfully, that didn't happen. He hits another Future Shock DDT, and now he is pacing. McIntyre is pacing. He can taste it. He can feel it. The title is within reach. Victory is in his grasp. He's this close to closing the deal and winning the championship back. He's going to go for the Claymore, but MVP grabs his leg. And as he is distracted by MVP, Lashley rolls him up and hooks the tights to retain the title. Bobby Lashley is still your WWE champion. We got a good old-fashioned distraction roll-up finish to this pay-per-view Hell in a Cell main event. You know what? It just seems appropriate for a WWE show that this Hell in a Cell match would end with a distraction roll-up. It just feels right. But you know what? It was the right outcome. As far as who won and who lost, it was the right outcome. Bobby Lashley, he should hold on to that championship for at least a couple more months. It'll at least get him to SummerSlam. So I like the outcome as far as him retaining. Drew McIntyre, of course, he looks like a fucking loser, having now lost clean at WrestleMania. Don't forget that. I had somebody in the chat before ask me, has Lashley ever beaten Drew and retained the title over Drew clean? Yeah, he did at WrestleMania. Even though they tried to sell it like, oh wait, MVP distracted him. Give me a fucking break. He lost clean at WrestleMania. So he lost at WrestleMania. He lost at Backlash. And he lost here. And now he can no longer challenge for the WWE title so long as Bobby Lashley is the champion. So that's the good news, that we are finally done with this feud. That is the good news. Again, I'm trying to look at the silver lining in this. Some of the finishes on this show and the way they booked some of this stuff is just mind-boggling and head-scratching to me. But I look for little slivers of positivity where I can. I'm happy that Lashley retained, and I'm happy this fucking feud, for now, is over. And now the question is, where does Drew McIntyre go from here? Are they going to call up someone new from NXT? Are they going to do what I thought they were going to do? I thought they were going to have Jinder Mahal and his guys show up here and cost Drew the title, and that would set up a feud between Drew and Jinder, because you know they want to do it. You know it is only a matter of time before they do the whole 3MB explodes thing. Drew McIntyre one-on-one with Jinder Mahal, and I don't give a fuck, but you know it's coming. I wouldn't book it, but you know it's coming. But they didn't do that. In fact, Jinder made one appearance on Raw, and we haven't seen him since. Maybe he got hurt again? I don't know. Maybe Lily the doll made him vanish. Maybe she didn't like him. Maybe she's a little racist doll. I don't know. But we haven't seen or heard from Jinder Mahal. Maybe he's been on main event, but not on Raw. So that could be a direction for Drew. I don't know what they're going to do with Drew. I'm actually kind of intrigued now to see where he is slotted and who he is programmed with going forward. But when this was over, I just thought to myself, bring on the beast, because everything now is set up perfectly. The rumors they're getting warmer and warmer. We're hearing new things every day about Brock Lesnar in talks to come back to WWE. Of course he is. You think, of course they want him back. They're talking about all hands on deck for SummerSlam. They want to get big names on the SummerSlam card. There is no bigger name. I mean, you can say John Cena, but they're not getting The Rock yet. Brock Lesnar is among the biggest names they could possibly get. Brock Lesnar right now is sitting at home doing nothing. He's sitting at home. He's hunting moose, right? He's eating elk, or maybe he's eating elk and hunting moose, or whatever it is that he's doing. He's sitting there reading the paper, right? Playing dominoes with Sable, going to the mailbox, picking up the mail, going back home, reading his hunting magazines, watching the Travel Channel, just waiting for that phone to ring. He's coming back, and when he does, it should be in a match against Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship, because it's one of the few matches that we have not seen Brock Lesnar in. It is a match that they have stayed away from ever since Lashley came back to the company in 2018. They've been on the same roster, they've shared the same locker room together, but they have kept them apart. And now, if Brock is going to come back, there's only one reason Brock would come back, and that is to challenge for the WWE title, because otherwise, why in storyline would Brock Lesnar care to come back if not to go after the championship that he lost? So the story now, it's there for the taking. You want a big main event or co-main event at SummerSlam? There you go. You get the 1-2 punch of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns and John Cena. There it is. Those are your two title matches at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Now things are perfectly set up for it. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. See what you guys thought of the show. Ouch. It's the first word I thought of right there. Ouch. Not even 20% thumbs up. Just under 20%. 33.5% thumbs in the middle. And the majority decision so far is thumbs down on this show, to the tune of 47%. So not a good result there so far for Hell in a Cell. But there is still time to vote. If you want to chime in, thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle, you can do so on Twitter. That is my handle on there, at Solomonster, is where you want to go to vote. Now I'm going to read your super chats. So before we wrap up the stream, if you have any questions, comments about tonight's show, now's the time to get them in. And I thank everybody who does send one in. Of course, it's not required, but if you do and you support the channel and what I do in that way, that means a lot. But I also said that I was going to have a fun little announcement. Now, I don't know if you can see it because it's not, it doesn't come across great, right now where it is on camera, but over my shoulder, you might notice something a little bit different. There is something a little different hanging on the wall behind me. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw a video that I posted the other day of a very nice surprise that I received. And it was a very nice surprise I received, and I have to thank not only WrestleRumble.com, but also my very talented graphics designer here on this channel, Mr. Steve Mello, for making this one of the best surprises that I've ever received. And what that surprise is the official custom Solomonster Sounds Off Championship belt. I have never had a Solomonster belt before, but I received a package the other day from FedEx that was 9 pounds. This thing was a monstrosity. I should have filmed myself trying to get this thing out of the box. It took me 20 minutes just to get it out of there. It was very well packed, as it should be. It's fragile cargo. But I took that belt out and I looked at it and it just warmed my heart. This right here is my new most prized possession. This thing is a fucking beauty. As you can tell from the video I posted on Twitter. And this one's mine. This one over my shoulder isn't going anywhere. Although I'll switch it off. It won't, I'll switch off because I had to take my winged eagle down. So this one may not be up there for every stream, but the fun announcement I wanted to make concerns a contest that is taking place next month, and I will now make the official announcement here and now for all of you. You can own your own custom Solomonster Championship belt. There it is. That bad boy right there. Let me tell you something. This thing, you could kill somebody with this thing. Now, I don't advocate that. Let me just say that for the record. I am not advocating violence with the belt. But this thing, man, it's got weight to it. The plates look good. The strap, I mean, everything about it. Got that silver tip there at the end. It's a silver belt, not gold. We got enough gold. But, you know, the red and the blue, it really pops off that belt. You can own that belt just by entering the contest on WrestleRumble.com. It's only $1 to enter. You can enter as many times as you wish. And no, Andre, it does not come with a kendo stick. We're going to leave the kendo stick out of this one. But the contest is open. It should be open right now on WrestleRumble.com. If it isn't, then come back tomorrow morning. But I believe it is now live on WrestleRumble.com. We're going to have the live drawing during my Money in the Bank recap stream. So that's on July 18th, Money in the Bank. When you guys tune in on YouTube that night, we'll do our live drawing. We're going to pick one lucky winner who will take home the Solomonster Championship belt. And you and I will be the only people in the world, the only two people in the world to own that belt. And it's only $1 to enter. Go to WrestleRumble.com right now and make sure you drop in at least one entry. This thing, like I said, this thing is a fucking beauty. Really love the way that this thing came out. We talked about doing this for a while, and I knew that we were getting ready to do this contest. I legitimately did not know they were making a second one to send to me. So, truly, again, to them, I have to say thank you. This is one of the coolest things that anybody's ever gotten me in terms of, you know, a gift. I mean, you know, just to see your logo and all the little slogan logos from some of the t-shirts and stuff that are on the side plates. It's just, you know, to see it in person like that, and I'm a belt mark to begin with, was just a very cool thing. And it makes me happy that one of you will be able to own one of your own and put that on display. So you'll hear me promoting it and talking more about it in the weeks to come, but I wanted to give you guys the first heads up so you can head on over there and enter the contest if you would like to do so. So let's go through your messages here. I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you thought of this pay-per-view tonight. Any other questions, by the way, that you may have, you can feel free to submit them. I am yours here for the remaining minutes of this stream here on a Sunday night. Actually, no, it's actually Monday morning now. Look at that. It's after midnight. You know, I'm not a fan of WWE, and I think it was a Peacock thing, pushing the pay-per-views back to 8 p.m. I miss these pay-per-views actually being at 7 and ending early. And I hope they go back to that, but it doesn't look like they're going to. It looks like these 8 p.m. pay-per-views are here to stay, so that's kind of disappointing. But I do miss that. I do miss that. So let's see, who are we starting with here? Who is number one? TH Revolution is number one with the $10 super chat. Says the 3 SmackDown matches were everything I wanted. The 3 Raw matches sucked. 2 horrible finishes back to back. Was the Rhea DQ the dumbest DQ of all time? I certainly think so. I'm almost positive we've had DQs that are far dumber than that. Can't think of which one it would be off the top of my head right now, but no, I don't believe that that would be the dumbest, but it was pretty fucking dumb. Ace of Masta with the $9.99. Thank you, sir. A roll-up pin to end a Hell in a Cell match. Ace of Masta, not a fan of that finish. Matthew Curry says, stay frosty. All right. You do the same. King Bling, BLA. Is this the first WWE pay-per-view to have more women's matches than men's matches aside from Evolution? 4 women's matches and 3 men's matches if you include the Kickoff. I think it might be. I think you might be right. And, well, we'll see, we'll call him Andy here. Andy Blitz with the $1.99. Charlotte is worse than Lightning Farron from Final Fantasy 13. Do we have any Final Fantasy fans here? Because I have not played, but perhaps other people will know who Lightning Farron is. I can't say that I'm familiar with Lightning Farron. Cameron Spencer with the $4.99. Would you rather have Tyson in his prime punch you in the face or have Walter chop you in the Adam's apple? Didn't I get this question once before? I got this exact question on a stream about a month ago. I would let Walter chop me, but as I said at the time, I would not want... Well, I guess he put a different spin on the question. So the question was, I think, the old question was, would I rather have Tyson punch me or have Walter chop me? And there was some mention of an Adam's apple. I said, well, the one thing I wouldn't want is Walter to chop me in the Adam's apple. So he put a little bit of a different spin here on that question. I mean, these questions. I feel like if Tyson punched me, I'd go out. If Walter chopped me, I'd be like Kevin Owens tonight. Like I wouldn't be able to breathe. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So I'll go with Tyson punching. Brian Pissarro with the $15. What's going on, Brian? Interesting event that transpired tonight. Luckily, this was not in front of the live crowd. Jake Rand, WWE books Bianca perfect and Rhea horribly. Well, that is the difference between SmackDown and Raw at the moment. I am Barbarian, 1991. Huge fan of the show since 2016. I agree with you. Hell in a Cell has lost its flair. Was meant as a violent blow-off between 2 enemies, and now it is a dud. Dried chicken without flavor. The camera switching is so annoying during a WWE pay-per-view. Sometimes it's hard to watch some of these other matches. It is very distracting. Nick Grasso, what's going on, Nick? Drew McIntyre wins Money in the Bank to get around that stipulation. Oh, no. No. Why did you have to say that? Why did you... You know what? That probably is what's going to happen now. I hadn't even thought about that. Drew McIntyre wins Money in the Bank to get around the stipulation. So what? They could do Drew and Lashley again at SummerSlam? Haven't we seen this fucking match enough? Why did you have to say that? Now you've ruined my good mood. But thank you for the $5. Ken terminated by DQ. Sandman might approve your Singapore Kane ID. Oh, I think he would love it. I mean, fuck, I would make him the master of ceremonies for the show. You kidding me? You have a kendo stick pay-per-view? Spanish Goddish. What's going on, man? Hope you're having a good day, good night, good morning. 12 o'clock in the morning. Ojali Burgos, I actually liked the match tonight and have enjoyed this Shayna versus Alexa stuff. Does that make me a bad person? That does not make you a bad person, but it does make me look at you a little weird. If you and I were walking on the sidewalk and I knew what you just told me, I probably would take a few steps back. Nick Garza with the $10 super chat. Thanks, Solomonster, for all of your great content. Well, thank you, Nick. Glad you enjoy it. As long as you keep consuming it, I shall keep pumping it out for you. Ken terminated by DQ. Do you think this match is making Matt Bourne roll? Yeah, I think Matt Bourne, whatever Matt Bourne is doing is probably far more interesting than what we had tonight. Dr. NXT Scorpio, this Alexa Magic BS explains why Lily got a timeout. Hulkling 93, there's material to use for Edge and Seth. Remember, Seth exploited Edge's injury, taking him hostage in 2014 to get Cena to reinstate the Authority. That is true. Although, I don't know if they would actually draw attention to that, but that's true. They did have that one interaction where he threatened to re-break his neck. Hey, there's our Sting Super Chat. It's one of our new Sting Super Chats. That was Sting the other night. He was having a good old time watching Dynamite when Darby Allin told him to stay home. And there he is. Look at that. In his jeans, laying on the couch, remote control in his hand, just chilling like a villain. I think Sting might rather enjoy staying home. He might stay home more often. He probably enjoyed himself the other night. He goes, shit. I still get paid and I get to sit on my couch and watch the show on TV. Why not? Dried chicken without flavor. Shayna Baszler and Harley Quinn, Alexa, program has become interesting. The program is good storytelling, but the matches are hit or miss. Okay. Hulkling 93, funny how Charlotte hits a moonsault by paying homage to Andrade. Dan Richards, Charlotte did the Andrade double moonsault spot. You know, I hadn't even thought about that until now, but I guess that's probably what she was doing. It's paying tribute to Andrade. Paul Heyman with a $5 super chat. The fact that Charlotte and Asuka are one win apiece from matches on Raw, but with Charlotte getting the title shot anyways, isn't that white privilege? No, that's not white privilege. That's called Flair privilege. That's what that is. Flair privilege is even greater than white privilege. It's the biggest privilege that you could possibly have after the McMahons. Jeroy sent a $13, almost $14 super chat. Thank you, Jay. Is it Jai or Jay? I'm going to call you Jai, because Jay is too boring. Uffman Entertainment. Next month's pay-per-view, WWE presents WrestleMania kendo sticks. That's right, just slap WrestleMania onto the beginning of any pay-per-view name. Pedro Velasquez. Bruce Pritchard also mentioned on Conrad's podcast that fans ruin their wrestling show. Do we bear a high proportion of the blame for not appreciating wrestling nowadays? Now, wait a minute. When did he make this comment? Was this on a recent podcast? Is that what he said? Somebody get me the exact quote. I would love to know what Bruce has to say about the live crowds. Please tell me. And I said, you know, at the beginning of this pandemic era, I said this is Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard's wet dream, is being able to manipulate and control the crowd reactions and dictate who they boo, who they cheer, who's over, who's not over, because they no longer have to worry about listening to us. They're not going to want to go back on the road. When they go back on the road, they'll still probably pipe in crowd chants. But this pandemic period, in terms of that, has been just a fucking wet dream for those two. So if he really did say that, I'm not surprised. I'm not at all surprised that Bruce Pritchard would say something like that. They have no respect for their audience. You know how I know that? Watch their fucking show on most weeks. Watch their show every Monday. You'll see how much respect they have for their audience. Dop. I'm not enjoying wrestling these days. Do you think wrestling isn't fun anymore? Even NXT, which I love, feels like something is missing. Wrestling can absolutely be fun. Not everything in wrestling is bad or boring or, you know, meant to anger. There is a lot of that, unfortunately. In WWE, there's some of that in AEW. They're not immune to it either. But there is definitely good stuff in there. And even in WWE, you know, just watch Smackdown on Friday nights. There's actually a lot of good stuff on Smackdown on most weeks. You know, one thing I didn't get to talk about on the podcast earlier today, because I didn't do a proper Smackdown review because nothing really happened. You know, all the important stuff outside of obviously the Roman Reigns match, but I talked about that in my Hell in a Cell rundown. But what I didn't mention is the stuff they've been doing with Chad Gable and Otis. You know, Otis shaved that rat's nest off his face, so now he looks, he looks like that guy from the Pee Wee Herman, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. But he's got a mean streak in him now. He's got a new attitude. There's no more jokes. There's no more ha-ha. There's no more funny comedy bullshit. This is the side of Otis. If this Otis had the Money in the Bank briefcase last year, things would have been a lot different. And Gable, thank God he's Chad Gable again and not Shorty G. And he's on television every week. And I like what they've been doing with him and Otis. So it's not just the Roman Reigns stuff that I've been enjoying on SmackDown. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you the WWE, everything they do is bad. No, a lot of the stuff they do on Raw is fucking terrible. And it is a big misuse of their talent because they have the talent, but it doesn't matter almost because it's what you do with that talent. The really good ones can take talent that isn't even that great and make them look great. But they have a lot of great talent that work for that company, and it's sad to see, unfortunately, what they do with some of these people, or what they don't do with some of these people, and how they just toil away and they misuse people, they miscast them in other, situations. So, to answer your question, yes, there is a lot to like about wrestling. There is a lot not to like. It's always been that way. There's always a mix. You will never, ever find a period in wrestling where everybody likes everything all the time. That's not how it works. You could tell that by just going back and watching any of the RSPW segments, any of the RSPW Rewind segments I've done. It was the same thing back in the 90s. It was the same thing back in the early 2000s. Nothing has really changed in that respect. There's always going to be really good stuff. There's always going to be really bad stuff. We're never going to agree on what I think is necessarily great and what you think is great. But it's the bad shit that really drives me nuts because it doesn't have to be that way. Brian Blair with the $50 super chat drop. What's going on, Brian? Poor Vince McMahon. I will get to Brian's super chat here in just a little bit. But thank you for that 50 bomb here on the stream. Anti-M Bishop 07, sweet custom belt. Question. Thoughts on AEW at Arthur Ashe Stadium? Who should main event? Well, I talked about this on the podcast earlier. I think it is the perfect place for proud and powerful Santana and Ortiz to win the tag team titles from the Young Bucks. If they are going to do that title change, I think they should headline with that. I think they can really build that. They have a strong tag team division. You can headline with a tag team title match that night. If it were me, Santana and Ortiz, they win the tag team titles in New York City from the Young Bucks. Keep the belts on the Young Bucks at this point, straight through, beyond All Out. Let them go to Arthur Ashe, and you do the title change there. It'll blow the roof off the place. That's what I would do. Bob the Builder. Next week, This Week in Wrestling History will be interesting. Ah, yes. Took me a second there to figure out what you were referring to, but yeah. Interesting is certainly a word for it. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be a very heavy edition of This Week in History. Mr. Robert. Major props for the official Solomonster belt. I feel it carries more significance than those lame Velcro belts they have in WWE. Ain't no Velcro on this thing. This is snaps. This is the way it should be. None of that Velcro bullshit. This ain't no kitty belt. Says he would be honored to win one of those Solomonster belts. Well, there's only one. And it could be you if you enter the contest. But we're only doing one of these. So, unfortunately, I wish everybody could have access to the Solomonster belt, but it can only go to one lucky person. Maybe it'll be you. Robert, I wish you the best of luck. Dry chicken without flavor. Do not take your title belt to a steakhouse. You know what I mean? Keep it home. Oh, don't worry. This thing ain't gonna get lost. This thing is not. This thing is going under lock and key when we're done here tonight. Trey Flowers with the $5. I got to watch the show free. I got to watch the show free via the Thunderdome. I'm glad Belair retained because otherwise I would have shat on this show. Jay Baker, Bray should have cost Alexa the match. When is he back? Good question. They could be saving him for live crowds, right? We're expecting a whole bunch of people to be coming back. We hear a whole bunch of names being bandied about. They might be waiting another month and bring him back. I said when I did the predictions, the only way Alexa Bliss loses this match tonight is if Bray Wyatt shows up and costs her the match the way that she did to him at WrestleMania. I said, unless that happens, there's no way Alexa is not winning this match tonight. And of course she won. But I do think at some point we'll probably have Bray doing to her what she did to him at WrestleMania. It's just a matter of when do they do it? Do they do it at Money in the Bank? Do they do it on television, after that? I think they're waiting for fans to get back into the buildings. I think fans will be more tolerant of the Fiend character than they will of what they have Alexa doing on TV. Herman. I used to watch Herman's Head. It's a television show when I was younger. Would you rather be a 5-time champion but no one remembers your matches, or have a memorable championship match but only win the title once? I would much rather have a memorable match and win the title once and have that one time have more impact. That's easy. HBK C83 was watching Philly and Atlanta Game 7 instead of this crap. God bless you. I don't know how you stomach this WWE mess. I love me some Sova with the $5. Is it so much to ask for us to be able to see Charlotte take a clean loss? Yes. You are asking too much. Paul Heyman. Is it safe to say that Shayna is officially buried? No. Because you know what? Nothing matters in this company. So you could put somebody in a ridiculous situation like this, and then in 2 weeks, they could completely change course and put her in something different, and it won't even matter. It'll be like, oh, okay. All right, Shane is doing something different now. For her to be buried, though, we would have to see her start to consistently lose on TV and, walk around the ring in like a little ballerina costume, or have, feces dumped on her head, and some of the other shit that they've done over the years. We haven't gotten to that point yet, although we might be getting there. No, I wouldn't use the word buried with Shayna. I would say very much misused right now. And this is just not something that is benefiting her at all. Once her and Nia lost the tag team titles, that should have been the end of their team. That should have been the end of their alliance. And they have kept it going. They have Reginald. Apparently Vince McMahon is a big fan of Reginald. He's a big fan of Reggie. So we're just going to continue to get more of this. Domination Warrior, buy or sell, Cole's Oh My or Vic Joseph's Ooh. You know what? I'm so used to the Oh My, I'll probably just buy on that at this point. Brian Blair dropped that $50 bomb a little earlier in the stream. He says, I could ask what I missed, but after listening to the live stream, it's obvious it wasn't much. Your shows after the pay-per-views are much more entertaining anyway. And if the results are a little more positive, then I can watch it afterwards. Thank you, Brian, again, for that very generous super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel. And all of our channel members, by the way. I know we have a lot of them in the chat tonight. Those of you who are supporting that way by being channel members. And being a channel member gives you access to the exclusive Sound Off Discord server. That is exclusively for channel members, so I thank all of you as well. EJ Slemp. What do you know about Hisashi Shinma, the WWF on-screen president from 1978 to 1984? I think William Regal just passed him for second longest tenured GM. I don't know too much about him other than it was Jack Tunney who replaced him as the figurehead president in WWE. And I just mentioned on the podcast earlier today that William Regal has to stick around in that role as GM for a couple more years to break Tunney's record. Tunney was the president for, I think, 9 years on television, from 84 to 95. I think when Shinma left, Tunney basically took over in that role. And if Regal sticks around a couple more years, he's going to break Jack Tunney's record. So he's got to gut it out for a little bit longer. Mikey Clayman, most underrated Hell in a Cell match. Wow, most underrated Hell in a Cell match. I don't know. Usually I just think of things in terms of the best ones and maybe some of the worst. I don't know that there's one that really stands out to me as being the most underrated, except, you know what? I was going to say maybe that New Day and Usos one from 20. All right, let me know, guys, if we're back. Let me know if we're back. Let me know when you guys can hear me. We had a little oopsie there, so I want to make sure you guys can hear me and see me. And we lost a whole bunch of people, but hopefully they'll come on back. Oh my goodness, I think we're back. Let me know in the chat. We back? Are we back? Oopsie. I think we had a little break in the matrix there, but we're back. It's all good. You're not gonna get rid of me that easily. Can't get rid of me. We got more super chats here. I can't leave you guys hanging like that. Yeah, if anybody's still having, well, I mean, I guess they wouldn't see me if they're having issues, but you could always try to refresh and hit F5 if it's still not working right for you. But anyway, we should be good. Let's pick up where we left off here. What were we talking about? Brian Blair. Brian Blair was telling me about Bruce Pritchard having his lips locked on Vince McMahon's rear end. It's his favorite place. Dr. NXT Scorpio. Yeah, somebody said, I guess Lily didn't appreciate your comments about Alexa Bliss. I think Lily, I must have pissed off Lily the doll. The doll put some kind of weird hex on me. Yeah, Bliss fan, I think you're right. Lily didn't like me hating on Alexa. Well, that's tough shit for Lily, I guess. Dr. NXT Scorpio, wish they got rid of the Cell pay-per-view. Used to be great. Yeah, it's a shame what they've done, unfortunately, to the whole concept of the Cell. It's just not... And not only that, one thing, I didn't mention because it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but what is with the fucking red? Whose idea was that? Why do they have to paint the Cell red? It looks fucking atrocious. It doesn't look good at all. The Cell was fine the way it was. They upgraded it. They made it a little bit taller. It doesn't have to be red. Please, for the love of God, repaint that thing fucking silver and just leave it be. I don't know who thought that was a good idea just visually. But I think it looks horrible. It's not even the fact that it looks gimmicky. That too. I just think visually, it's like hard on the eyes. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't make it look any more sinister. It makes it look stupid. Pedro Velasquez with the $5. Bruce's comment was like 2 years ago on the HBK episode, but even Wrestler also called out the fans. It's like the fans are evil and it got to me. Yeah, there are some wrestlers who do that as well. I mean, they shit on the fans, and it's stupid. Look, sometimes you shit on the fans when the fans act stupid, but there are people who will just constantly heel on the fans and blame the fans. Oh, the reason things are the way they are is because of the fans. It's because they don't want to take responsibility for their own actions, or they don't want to take responsibility for their own dumb decisions. Maybe you're just really fucking terrible at your job. So instead of passing the buck on to people like us, maybe you should try to just do a better job. How's that for an idea? They don't want to do that, though. That would be too easy. HBK C83. At least the Mets are in first place in the division. It's a miracle in itself. David Cook, thank you for the $2. I saw your message in the chat. I think he said that he was trying to leave a message and got kicked off with what happened before. So if you want to leave a message just in the chat here, I'll try to see if I catch it because I'm going back and forth here. But if you have a question or a comment, leave it in the chat and I will do my best to answer it for you. I'm sorry that happened to you. Ace of Master, that damn racist doll froze the stream. Yeah, tell me about it. Dried chicken without flavor. Instead of Full Gear, do you see Jericho against MJF in a match? Also, will Kenny Omega drop the AEW World title at All Out? Possible. I'm still leaning towards Full Gear for that to happen to Hangman, taking the title from Omega. Jericho versus MJF is going to happen. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of when. That I would see it All Out. I would say All Out for Jericho, MJF, and Full Gear for Omega and Hangman. That would be my prediction on that. So David in the chat says, Randy Orton are both 14-time world champions. Do you think that there is a chance that we could get a three-way race to number 17 with them and John Cena? I think you left out someone's name. He says, thanks, Solomonster. Randy Orton are both 14-time world champions. So did you forget to put Triple H's name in there? I assume you're probably thinking of Triple H. But it doesn't matter who it is. There's not going to be a three-way race. If anyone's hitting number 17, it's going to be Cena. I don't think there's going to be a race. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be Cena. Could happen at SummerSlam. He could be the one to beat the Tribal Chief. And then Roman gets the belt right back. It's possible. I mean, I don't think I would want to see Roman beat yet. There may come a time where even I get tired of the Roman Reigns stuff and I'm like, all right, enough already. Let's get the belt off this guy. I'm not there yet. And I can't tell you who that person should be because I don't think that person is on the main roster at the moment. I don't know who that person should be to beat him and take the title. But if Cena were to beat him and they wanted this great big special moment in Vegas in front of people at this big stadium and Cena wins number 17, I mean, it would be a big moment. There's no doubt about it. But I still don't think I would do it. Mr. Robert with the $25. Thank you very much. Enjoy being a channel member and have gotten many friends to subscribe to your channel. And they all enjoy your insight on the live streams. Be on the lookout for all of them to join the channel. Thanks, Solomonster. Well, thank you for spreading the word. That's the best thing anybody can do. I appreciate all of the super chats and the PayPals and our channel members, and that's great because that's directly supporting the channel and what I do. But honestly, the best thing you could do is spread the word. Tweet, retweet, go on Facebook, let your friends know you have a wrestling fan for a friend. Hey, check out this guy's podcast. Just spread the word. Let them know. I hear from people all the time, hey, I only discovered your show this year. I can't believe I never heard about it before. That's the best way to let people know. John G says, the Herman's Head reference made me pop louder than anything on Hell in a Cell tonight. I didn't know if anybody in the chat even knew what I was talking about. But yeah, that used to be a television show on Fox, Herman's Head. Herman's Head with the guy, by the way, I believe the lead actor on the show was the guy from Fright Night, the movie Fright Night, which is also one of my favorites. Abdul Rahman, buy or sell between Hell in a Cell pay-per-view or Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view. Fatal 4-Way was much dumber. At least Hell in a Cell, the gimmick, the stipulation has an appeal. Fatal 4-Way doesn't appeal to anybody. And I should know because I was there. I was at the one and only Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view that they ever did, which actually was this week in history, and I didn't include it in the segment I did earlier, but that was this week in wrestling history, I believe, from the Nassau Coliseum. There's a reason why there was only one and they never brought it back. Brian Blair. Actually, no, I'm skipping ahead here. I'll get to Brian Blair in a second. Brian Blair! I sound like the Iron Sheik now. Brian Blair! I'd break your back and make you humble. I hope Sheik is doing well. We don't hear too much about the Iron Sheik these days. I feel like he's physically not doing too well. Spanish Goddish with the $5. Man, the last 2 weeks have been terrible for me. A close friend of mine took his own life. He was only 21, but yes, it's hard dealing with a loss like this. I'm very sorry to hear that. It's so weird. I got a Facebook message from someone who told me the same thing recently, that if a good friend of theirs took their own life completely unexpectedly. You know, it's hard. I can't say that that's happened to me before, but I've dealt with a lot of other loss, but not a loss like that. And you never really know what someone is going through. I guess that's really the message there. Everyone has their own struggles and their own demons and things they're dealing with, a lot of times in silence, right? People may not even be aware of what's going on, and then it just kind of hits you like a bolt of lightning. And, you know, there's nothing you could do. Some people beat themselves up over it. They feel guilty. But at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, people make their own decisions. And unfortunately, sometimes they feel like that's the only way to go. And it sucks. Because that should never be the answer. And I'm sorry that you're going through that, man. It's a terrible thing. Dr. NXT Scorpio, if I am wrong, but I just remembered, Goldberg has one more match for this year. Could we see Goldberg against Roman at SummerSlam? Please don't hate me. No, they could certainly do it. It's all hands on deck for SummerSlam. Goldberg's a big name, and if they want Goldberg on the show, then he'll be there. But I think we're going to get another Saudi Arabia show, which actually would be the first one this year, probably by the end of the year. And my guess would be that they might want to save Goldberg for that show. But you're right. He's contracted for 2 matches per year, I believe, through 2023, or maybe next year. So we're definitely not done with Goldberg yet. There's going to be more. Billy Boy is going to be showing up at some point. Actually, you know, that's a good point. We have not yet gotten Goldberg against Reigns. We never got the match. So if they need people for Reigns to beat, Goldberg may be one of them. It might not be at SummerSlam, but at some point they might want to do that match. Naif Al-Safar with the $14.99 Super Chat. Naif, one of our great supporters. I thank you, sir. Brian Blair, never imagined having the same name as a Killer Bee, but I guess it could be worse. Could be Husky Harris or Bastion Booger, maybe Shorty G. Ken terminated by DQ. Lisa Simpson likes your Herman's Head reference. As being a Simpson mark made you give out the reference. Shout out to Yeardley Smith. Is it Yardley or Yeardley? I say Yeardley Smith. I don't know why people think I'm a Simpsons mark. I don't watch The Simpsons. I mean, I've seen episodes of it. I used to play the Simpsons video game when I was younger. With Krusty, what was it called? Krusty's something or other. But I never got into The Simpsons. I've had a few people message me and think that maybe I made some kind of reference or something or joke and they thought that I was a big Simpsons mark, but I'm really not. So I don't know why people think that's the case. And I think we're all caught up. I think Ken actually is the last message. Oh, we got one more. Abdullah Rahman, early predictions for Money in the Bank this year. Well, we had one of our super chatters plant the idea now in my head that Drew McIntyre is going to, Drew McIntyre is going to win Money in the Bank and then cash in on Bobby Lashley, and that's how he gets around the stipulation. I think that would be fucking terrible. I don't know, you know, the names that stand out to me for Money in the Bank, Big E stands out to me, but so does Kofi Kingston. This story they're doing on Raw with Kofi and MVP is intriguing to me. It's the only thing that really has gotten my interest recently on Monday nights. And I am wondering where this is going. Do they have the guts to split the New Day and turn Kofi Kingston heel? I don't think they're going to do that. But I could see Kofi Kingston winning Money in the Bank and keeping that in his back pocket and challenging Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar. Because remember, Brock Lesnar is the one who embarrassed Kofi on that first Fox episode of SmackDown. 8 seconds. 8 fucking seconds. And he took the championship away from Kofi Kingston. And that was the end of Kofi Mania. So, in theory, if we were going to get Lashley and Lesnar at SummerSlam and one of them was going to come out with the WWE title, there is a story there for Kofi Kingston to challenge and cash in on either one of them at some point. I don't think we can discount the possibility that they would give the briefcase to Kofi. As long as he's been there in that company, he's never won Money in the Bank. But there's the other Sting, Super Chat. Just lounging out, watching Dynamite the other night. Eating his Cheetos. Juan Ocampo with the $5. Can you chant this for the UK fans? It's coming home, it's coming home. Football is coming home. Buy or sell on the better heel run. 2006 Edge or 2021 Roman Reigns? Edge was a great heel. I gotta go with Edge. We're not done with Roman. The year is still young. We're only at the midway point. Maybe my mind can be changed. It was different, too, because the product was not PG back then. So a lot of the stuff that Edge was doing, whether it was him and Lita, the stuff leading up to the One Night Stand pay-per-view that year, you know, he was able to probably get away with stuff that Roman Reigns would not be able to get away with on TV today. So it's a little unfair, I think, to make that comparison. But if you put me on the spot, I probably would give the edge to Edge. There you go. I didn't plan that, but there you go. I would give the edge to Edge. We got another message here coming in from Spanish Goddess. Yeah, we recouped some people who got kicked off before. So that's good. Spanish Goddess. Thank you, Solomonster. It's hard because me and the guy graduated from high school 3 years ago, but unfortunately, bad parents was the main cause for this. Rest in peace, Keyshawn Cedric. Talk about an inappropriate time for Nakamura to be dancing on a super check. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, there we go. Rest in peace, Keyshawn Cedric Mam. 1999 to 2021. Far too young, man. Far too young for something like that to happen. Again, I'm very sorry to hear that. And there's really nothing to say, I think, in a situation like that that can really... Yeah. That can really make it any better. Everyone now dumping on Nakamura for the bad timing there. Dance of all the super chats to dance on. I mean, come on. Have some class, for God's sake. But again, we are very sorry to hear that. Very sorry to hear that. Spanish Goddess is with us every week. I feel like you're part of our family here. So I am sad when you are sad. That's not something that anybody should have to go through. And to hear that apparently bad parenting was the cause makes me just shake my head. Cameron Spencer dropping $4.99. I'll have more Adam's Apples questions for you in the future. Take $5 more. Thanks for the hard work. So you mean I have more of those to look forward to? More of those questions? What is the obsession with the Adam's Apple? I think you've seen too many Steven Seagal movies where he gives the thrust to the throat. Right? Hard to Kill. One of the Steven Seagal films. Marked for Death. Was that another one? Scott Woodford. What's going on, Scott? When will Cross be on the main roster? It sounds like very soon. They're going to be having a draft after SummerSlam, and I expect him to be called up no later than then. So I think we're looking at a Cross call-up end of August, beginning of September. That would be my prediction. Boy, Bliss fan is pitching Alexa versus Rhea and The Fiend against Orton for... So you want to reboot The Fiend and Randy Orton? Thank God you're not booking this show. Why do you want The Fiend against Randy? Didn't we get that enough? You want to bring back The Fiend against Randy Orton? Paul Heyman says, when will WWE sign Joey Ryan? Is there some other wrestler by that name that I'm unaware of? Because that's about the only Joey Ryan they would sign. And when they sign him, they would make him change his name. So his name doesn't match up to the other dirtbag. That's right. Domination Warrior says, never. Explore with Terry. A new super chatter dropping $9.99. Russo on a poll, bro. Look at baby Russo. Boy, Russo was all over the podcast earlier today. I talked about him being part of that China documentary on Vice, which was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. And I did a full 20-minute review on that. And that'll be popping up on the YouTube channel as well in the next day or two. And I talked about Russo in the This Week in History segment because it was This Week in History back in 2002 that Vince Russo was rehired by Vince McMahon. And I did a whole segment on that as well. So if you want to get in, you want your Vince Russo fix, all you got to do is listen to episode 709 of The Sound Off, which dropped earlier today. So if you want to listen to the full podcast, if you're a new follower or a new subscriber here on the channel, this isn't even the main show. The main podcast drops every Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, pretty much every single podcast platform that you could think of. And today's show was a big one, over 2.5 hours. So anybody who has a commute to work, if anybody's going on a big trip, driving somewhere, flying anywhere, you can kill 2.5 hours by listening to the latest podcast. Abdul Rahman, what do you think if Cross does what Asuka did and vacates the title for the main roster? I'd be okay with it. If they don't want to beat him, they want to keep him undefeated on his way to the main roster, then I'd be fine with that. Dry chicken without flavor. New Japan is coming to the LA Coliseum. Will Moxley drop the IWGP US title at that show? That's in August, I think. Is the LA Coliseum? Are you sure about that? Because I heard it was going to be part of the New Japan. I thought it was like New Japan Strong stuff, or I didn't realize it was at the LA Coliseum though. That's interesting. I would think that would be an appropriate time for him to drop the belt. I think it's been long enough. Depends who his opponent is going to be though. It depends who they match him up with. But yes, I think it probably is time for him to drop that championship. Watch the Joker. Thank you, David, for the reminder. I still have not watched Joker. I will watch it. I promise you. I know I've said that. I've just been very busy. But yes, I will watch Joaquin... I was going to say Joaquin Wilde. I will watch Joaquin Phoenix in the Joker and let you know what I thought. Or Joker, right? It's just called Joker. It's not The Joker. If Bret Hart was naming this movie, it would be called The Joker. Moxley against Gage. Nick Gage. Not for New Japan, though. Who knows? I don't think New Japan is bringing in Nick Gage to my knowledge, but I guess never say never. Do I think Santos Escobar came to the main roster? If he came to the main roster, he would be playing with Pinatas. Well, this is the same company that had a faction called the Mexicools who rode down to the ring on lawnmowers. So I can't say that he wouldn't be playing with Pinot. So was the Lucha House Party, right? They were playing with Pinot. You don't even have to go back that far. The Lucha House Party plays with Pinatas. Look, if you can't find what to do with Santos Escobar, who, unlike Andrade, his English is perfect. He speaks fluent English. So you look at this guy and go, oh, he can't speak English. No, he can speak perfect English. He can cut promos. He can wrestle. He looks like a star. He carries himself like a star. If that guy goes to the main roster and does not become a star, it is an indictment on this company. So I expect big things out of him once he gets called up. Playing with piñatas is not what I expect him to be doing. Someone in the chat said, Apollo Crews against Cesaro at SummerSlam. Cesaro going for the Intercontinental title? Yeah, very possible. He's not winning the Universal title. So the Intercontinental is about as good as it's going to get for him. I'd be down for that. I'd be down for that for sure. Absolutely. Richie Rich with the $4.99 super chat, just in capital letters, is yelling the Survivor Series. I don't know what he's referring to, but indeed, the Survivor Series is coming up in November. He seems very excited. Well, I mean, I guess Survivor Series is rumored to be coming to Brooklyn. Right? So if you live in New York, then you would be excited that SummerSlam or Survivor Series is coming to Brooklyn. Nakamura to win Universal title. No, he's not. Not going to happen. Should CM Punk have main evented WrestleMania 27 instead of Miz? I don't know if he should have main evented WrestleMania 27, but because he really didn't get big in that company until after that, right? It was the year after, I think. Or it was later that year. I think it was that summer. So, no, I don't know about that year. I definitely would not have had Miz, though, in the main event of WrestleMania that year. It's one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time. Fontes Revenge just dropped a $20 super chat that should be popping up here any second. Always listen to your podcast while trucking down the road. I love hearing from the truck drivers. My father used to be a truck driver. So I have a lot of respect for all the truckers out there, especially the ones who are away from their family. They're on the road. It's a very lonely life, right? If you are a truck driver and you're making these long runs, I guess it depends on what geographic area you cover. But I can tell you from just experience with my own family that it is a lonely life away from home. So stay safe on the road. Ryan Spies with the $5. This show needed Luther, making random faces and screaming in the background to make it memorable. Ah, Dr. Luther. Dr. Luther, who has no business being on fucking television every week. Dr. Luther. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's got no business being on TV. He's pretty bad. Yeah, the King Corbin gimmick is over. Finally. Only took 2 years. Alexa versus Rhea is the match to do at SummerSlam, says Bliss fan. Keep Rhea Ripley away from this nonsense. At least wait until Alexa has snapped out of it. I don't want Rhea near any of this right now. This would be the worst thing they could do. Did Macho Man or Brett give Hulk Hogan that black eye at WrestleMania 9? The rumor is that Savage did. Again, we'll never know. Hogan claimed the jet ski accident. We're never gonna know. I think he got punched in the fucking face, though. Makes for a great story, too, right? Brett punch Vince, and Savage punch Hogan. All right, we're gonna wrap things up here. What I want to also mention before I forget, for those of you who may have missed it, is that there is a brand new RSPW Rewind. It's the first one I've done in months. Hopefully it won't be so long before the next one. And Mr. Robert popping up over my graphic here, dropping $9.99 on a poll, bro. Mr. Robert, thank you for the support tonight. But yes, brand new RSPW Rewind is now up over 30 minutes. This is one of the posts that I cover. A fan in RSPW made the comment that Dave Meltzer, in his opinion, was overworked, which is why the Observer was suffering. And this was in 1995. It's a lot of fun stuff in this edition of RSPW Rewind, so you will find that elsewhere here on the YouTube channel. Actually, you know what? Before we get out of here, I want to grab the belt, actually, and see if I can give you guys a more up-close view of the belt. Dry Chicken, thank you for the $5. Do you see Private Party leaving Matt Hardy's Hardy Family office for Mark Sterling and Jade Cargill's brand? Possible. It's possible. Hold on a second. Let me grab the belt. Hold on a second. Let me show you guys. Ugh, this thing is heavy. Holy smokes. Said this thing is, I love, this thing is just, it's so cool to look at here. Now again, this is a mirrored image in the camera, so it's going to look a little funky, but just to give you guys an up-close view of what you're going to be battling for in the Wrestle Rumble contest, WrestleRumble.com, by the way. So, I just love it. It came out so much better than I even thought it would. Let me see if I can give you a better view here. There we go. So this right here, that's the main plate on the championship. I'll hold it this way. It's a little bit easier. This thing is 9 pounds. This thing is a beast. This thing is a monstrosity. I'm telling you, you guys are getting a custom belt, the likes of which you've never gotten before. And you see the back of it here. It's got the snaps. There's no Velcro. You've got the silver tip here. I mean, this thing is the real deal. This thing is cool. So again, you're gonna want to get in on that contest. And right here, we now have an official Solomonster Sounds Off Championship belt. Ugh. Whew. 9 pounds. It feels like it, too. Heavy duty. That's right. That's right. Heavy duty. I'll tell you what, this looks better than a lot of the belts they have today in WWE. I'm not joking when I say that. There are some nice looking belts in WWE. Now they have the $1 million belt, right? Back on NXT. But this bad boy over here, man, whew, telling you, very, very impressed with how this thing turned out. And you'll notice, by the way, I'm sure this comes as no surprise to some of you who know me, I made sure that we had the eagle wings on the belt. So you get eagle wings, they come off the leather a little bit. I mean, just, you know, even the center plate, it kind of comes off the leather. That's how it's supposed to be, man. You know what, actually, I don't know if this is genuine leather. I don't think it is, but this, if it's not, this is the best synthetic leather I've ever seen in my life. I mean, this stuff, if it's not real leather, it's as close to real leather as you could possibly get. So, anyway. Luis Belmont show walkthroughs. Rhea Ripley getting disqualified makes way less sense than, oh, come on. Again, with these weird references. Luis, you are one of a kind, but my God, most people don't know who these people are. But Luis said, thank God Randy Orton was not at Hell in a Cell tonight. Breath of fresh air. Well, that we can agree on. That we can agree on. What do the side plates say? Well, the side plates are basically just a collection of different logos that you'd find on some of the Solomonster shirts in our store on Pro Wrestling Tees. So, for example, this one here, we have a shirt. Well, it's kind of funny, actually. This is appropriate for tonight because we had a distraction roll-up in the main event of this pay-per-view. Holy shit. So this is the No Distraction Roll-Ups logo. We have a t-shirt, No Distraction Roll-Ups. This thing was epidemic in the company a few years ago. So the logo for that is here. The logo for that is right there. Here is Champs Are Chumps. Back when every champion was losing in non-title matches every fucking week on television. We've got Let Me School You, Son. That was from another rant on the show many years ago. The RSPW Rewind logo is actually right over here. The Sound Off Soundbites logo, it's hard to see with the light, but the Sound Off Soundbites logo you see in all of our clips on YouTube, that's up here. Sound Off Gamer, which might make a return at some point. And this was cool too. This was very nice of them to do. This plate here, you can see it, is Hardy the Horse, which is the title character of my mother's children's story that I published after she passed away. So we even have a little piece of Mama Monster is part of the belt as well. She would love this thing. Oh my God, if I could show this to her, she would get a kick out of that. So anyway, that those are the side plates. Very happy with how it turned out. And again, please consider buying an entry and getting in on this contest because this is going to be a hot ticket item here heading into the drawing on July 18th. You've got a month. You can enter as many times as you would like. Luis with another super chat says, screw distraction roll-ups. I agree. I agree. Jabe Shepard in the chat says, when you worked for JBL, did he bully you? No, he didn't bully me. Because I wasn't going to put up with that shit. That's back when he had his website, his Layfield Report blog. It's actually him and Michael Cole who owned that website. And I had been doing some writing over there for a little while, and I hate to get back into that whole story again, but if you remember the whole Cranky Vince controversy on Twitter, people were accusing him of being Cranky Vince. There was a Twitter account called Cranky Vince. And I think it was like leaking certain things. It got to a point where it was pretty apparent that it was somebody within the company who ran the account. And people thought it was him. And I never really said a word about it, but there was one night, this is back when he was doing commentary, where he had tweeted something, and the Cranky Vince account had tweeted the exact same thing, word for word. It's almost as if he forgot that he was logged into the wrong Twitter account, but people screenshotted it, and they started to spread it around, and I think somebody tagged me in a tweet. I don't know if I retweeted it, or I didn't actually say anything. But the next time I went to go post a blog on his site, I noticed I was locked out. And I contacted the administrator, the person who was running the site, and I won't mention who it was. But I mentioned it to him, and he goes, oh, yeah, John was blocking people left and because he blocked me on Twitter as well. I was like, that's kind of strange. And then I was told, yeah, he was just upset about all the people talking about Cranky Vince, and he went on a blocking spree, and I was like, well, I have this whole blog that I just worked on, and I have no place to put it now, and that was kind of the end of that. I said, well, fuck this. I don't need this shit. He was Cranky JBL. But, he was very testy, very upset about that. Almost makes you feel like if you were actually the guilty party, you would feel that upset about the whole situation. If people had accused you of being Cranky Vince, maybe you really were. I don't know. I'm not saying he was. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not saying a thing. Anyway, JBL would block his own mother on Twitter. I think he's pretty much blocked almost everybody at this point. So I kind of wear it as a badge of honor. But I was just, at the time, I was just looking to write columns and stuff. You know, I was writing for SC Scoops. I was writing for PW Mania for a while. So for me, it was just another website. He wanted me. He recruited me. JBL did. This all happened on Facebook. I didn't even know he was looking for writers, and people had recommended me, and he came to me and said, "Oh, it would be an honor if you would write for me." And I'm like, is he just saying that, or does he actually know who I am? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd write for you. Then I get blocked. I'm like, all right, well, sucks for you. I'm overworked as it is. I don't need this shit. Say Uffman says he got blocked by JBL on Twitter. It's like, wear it like a badge of honor, right? It's great. I haven't had to look at anything that he's written for the last, 6 or 7 years. It's fantastic. Christopher Travers dropped a couple of super chats. And a comment, your mother is watching with a smile on her face. That's very nice of you to say. Thank you. I appreciate that. Says Vince is cranky, but right now at almost 76, it's like he's staring down the twilight years of his life. I don't know. There are people who believe that Vince is a cyborg who will never die. He's going to outlive all of us. And he probably did as much steroids and cocaine and all that stuff back in the 80s as any of those other guys did, and a lot of them are dead. And yet him and Hogan are still here. They're still alive and kicking. I guess they knew how to modulate their usage of all of that stuff. KC says, Nia Jax blocked me. Well, what did you say to get blocked? All right, this has been fun, guys. I think it's probably time to... I didn't realize how late it was. It's after 1 a.m. already. Look at this. Oh, wait, we got another super chat coming in from Near Rolf. Peace in the Middle East. We'll bring... I don't know what language that's in. But yes, peace in the Middle East. I agree. It'll never happen. But it's nice to have goals. It's nice to have goals. When you have people killing each other for, decades, I don't really see an end to that anytime soon, but it's nice to have, it's nice to set a goal for yourself. Nothing wrong with that. Mr. Delgado says the after party. Is that what this is? This is the after party? This is the afterbirth. J-Dub says Vince snorting like Bob Morton in RoboCop with the two models. That's right. And do you remember what Clarence said to the ladies when he barged into the room? I believe his words were "leave bitches." Is that what he said? It was something bitches. I just forgot exactly what he said. I think he said "leave bitches," I think. And they got out of there, and then poor Bob Morton. Poor Bob Morton. What a way to go. Yeah, it was. It was something like that. Reminds me, I gotta watch that again. I gotta watch RoboCop again, since it's been too long. Right. 510. Bianca. To answer your question. Luis. He still has me as a follower on Twitter. The point is, don't piss people off. I actually pissed off Debbie Ryan, but she didn't block. Oh, there it is. You and Debbie Ryan, man. You and Debbie Ryan. Why don't you marry Debbie Ryan? Is she single? Maybe you can make that happen. You seem to be her biggest fan. Every time I see a message from you, it's always Debbie Ryan. OG RoboCop is always a win. Absolutely. Yeah, 1987 was a good year for movies. RoboCop, They Live. Didn't Wall Street come out in 87 with Michael Douglas? I thought that was 87. Just reading the chat here. Predator. That's right. Predator also. We could talk about all 80s movies, though. I mean, the 80s was the fucking decade for those, like, action movies and stuff. That's right. Predator. Get to the chopper. Dick says They Live was 88. Well, maybe he means it was filmed in 87. Right? Because that's why Piper left. Piper left in 87 to go film They Lived. So maybe they filmed it and it came out in 88. That might have been what it was. Yeah, RoboCop 2 is what they were promoting when they had RoboCop in WCW. We try to forget about that, though. Rambo. All right, guys, this has been fun. Thank you for the support, and thank you for sticking with me. We had a little hiccup in the stream, but we brought it back. And if that ever happens again, just same thing. Just keep refreshing and stick around. Usually that doesn't happen, but if it does, I usually get things back up within a minute or two. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, man, we could talk about the 80s all night. You keep me here until 4 a.m. talking about the 80s. Don't forget to vote on Twitter. @Solomonster is the place to go. Follow me on there. And vote in the poll. These are the current poll results. They're not looking too good. Hell in a Cell needs your help. She needs a boost. She's only got 18% thumbs up right now and almost 50% thumbs down. So @Solomonster is the place to go for that. Again, look at that beauty. Go to WrestleRumble.com. You can be among the first to enter the contest. We're going to pick a winner next month. I cannot wait. Can't wait for that. And RSPW Rewind, man, I spoil you guys. You know that? All this content. And there's more coming up later this week. RSPW Rewind is up on the YouTube channel. Do check it out. I thank you, as always, for your support. Have yourselves a fantastic night and a fantastic rest of your week. A little programming note. I am going to be live on YouTube next Saturday night. Dynamite is a Saturday night special, 8 p.m., and I'm going to be here on YouTube at 10 p.m. as soon as that goes off the air. So we're doing Dynamite this week, but not on Wednesday. We're doing it on Saturday. And then, of course, next Sunday is episode 710 of the podcast. Can't wait to be back in our usual Wednesday slot talking about Dynamite. That's coming up on June 30th. So be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great night, and I will see you guys back here next weekend for Dynamite. Take care, guys.